Okay guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how and why you should prepare your moves and transitions and everything. And what I'm talking about today. Obviously in a battle or a cipher, it's extra important that you come on point and don't mess up. But it's actually also very important that you sort of do the same in a practice, and I'll tell you guys why. So let me tell you what I'm talking about. Today I'm going to give the example with flare, and sometimes I do these tutorials or talks, and it's kind of confusing because I single out a single move, whatever it is, right? And then you think, okay, he's really talking just about that move. But no, it's just an example. So in this case, it's not necessarily about flare, it's just about basically everything you do. But yeah, I have a lot of combos with flare, sort of weird things. I will jump into the flare or out or whatever, right? But let's say I want to do a little set, like I have this sort of run where I sort of do what I call sort of the illusion step. And I go this way, right, and I want to do flare. Actually, I do this little step forward and then I do flare, right? Now let's say I'm doing that flare because I'm now actually quite cold because I was sitting down just now. And I'm doing that flare and something like this happens. Right? Well, that's obviously in a cipher or a battle, it's just okay, just give up, right? It's over. But or you need to really play around with sort of that crash and cover it up well. But in a practice, it's actually also quite bad that happens. And I'll tell you guys why that is. So if your friends see you sort of fumble those moves all the time, or the people you practice with see that all the time, they're gonna think twice before they ask you to battle with them. Even if you're quite good, they see, man, this guy's messing me up a lot. When he's on the floor, he's not always hitting his shit clean, or it's very good. Like I do the flare, but it scrapes the floor, blah blah blah, right? So instead of going in the middle of the floor and start doing runs, without testing the move, you need to sort of test it and also stretch out and stuff, right? Like do a little workout, whatever you need, like abs can help, yada yada, that you do before. But instead of like going in the middle of the floor and trying to do these runs, like you can see, right? No, I'm just going to the back sort of, or a little bit to the side, and I slowly test, like in this case it's the flare, so just do slowly a test flare, like this. Right? And I see like, man, that wasn't so good, so I can test that. So I did that flare and I feel, man, it doesn't really feel that on point, or it doesn't really is a clean and finished flare, or I even crash at some point, right? So you're gonna test that, and that means I'm not going in the middle of the floor while Lee is watching and whatever these guys from Rocket Solutions are sometimes there in Amsterdam. They're watching me and they see me fumble 15 times before they see a good combo, right? So no, I'm just on the side slowly testing a flare, and that's totally legit. That's something you totally can do. That you can even do this in a battle, right? Obviously you're not gonna test in the battle, you test it before or to the side, and in the side it's the same thing. You're not gonna go in the side and test, you sort of test that move from the side. So this one wasn't so good, I didn't really feel it out, so I just do some preparation or whatever I need to do, and then or test it a couple of times. Man, I feel that flare out. I do it again, a little bit better, right? Okay, it's a little bit better, a little bit more power, right? A little bit of kick, yada yada. And then basically these test flares, don't that I never put power in this. Just do it as a test. Okay, I have the flare, I can do it. And then I do this slide, do flare, do jump, do whatever, right? So I already have the combos ready. When I represent that, even in the practice, you want to sort of do that right. So then when people see you, they're like, man, this guy's pretty good. And like I said, it's pretty important in a battle that, you know, you want to get into the crew, but they always see you sort of mess up half of the time. That's a bad representation of yourself, right? Basically, and going to the side and practicing is totally legit, right? So that works. It also depends how and everybody is practicing. But basically, you want to do good shit, so you want to prepare beforehand. And like I said, like a move like flare or whatever is really just an example. Like moves like head spin, yet another great example. Even though now I'm talking a lot about power, it's not really about that. But you know, like I personally don't need a warm up to do a head spin, but the floor has to be right. And yet again, that's something you need to test sometimes, because you start spinning and you sort of half stuck because the floor is totally shit, then you have to tell your body that, like, hey guys, the floor is shit, I can't do it today. That looks bad, right? Instead of that, just test it out. Just do a little test spin on the side a little bit. Like, alright, this is a good floor, here I can kill it with the head spin. Or otherwise, you know, adjust to it. That's something you need to prepare also in advance. So you have version of the head spin that you sort of can do a single round to an LWF or whatever combo like that. So that's how you do it. You test your moves out in whatever way you need. Sometimes you don't need to do the move. Like for backflip, I don't do them anymore, but back in the day I used that move also a lot. In between like jumps and flips and whatever. And then what I didn't need to do the backflip. I actually just needed to do a couple of these jumps where I pulled my knees to my chest as hard as I could. And then I could feel out if my backflip was good that day. Basically, it's like, I mean, it's a powerful and high jump. I feel that high, I feel that jump. Then I know, okay, I can do the backflip. And sometimes I didn't feel that. I still sort of did backflips. And often this happens, you know, I did backflip, but you know, my hand touched the floor, or I always catched it sneaky like this because I knew like, alright, if I don't really make it, I do this little pose. But that's sort of not something you want to do, right? So you don't want to sort of mess up, just prepare in advance. Hey, can I do those moves? Then when people watch you and for instance you want to ask them for the battle, they think, man, this guy's pretty clean, he's catching his moves, everything looks good, you look a lot better, right? So that's my advice, that's why you prepare, guys, even in a practice setting. And you know, if you practice a million times moves, that's fine, like, of course that's how you practice, but you practice it sort of like the preparation for this, at least you can do a little bit to the side. If you practice 90, you want to make better 90. Of course you could practice a little bit of handstands first on the side and a little one hand freeze pose and maybe some practice spins on the side or spinning handstands on the side, and then you go in the middle of the floor and start busting those moves and people looking at you like, this guy is busting those 90s, right? So you look basically good on these practices. And yet again, I already explained why sometimes that's even important, guys. Instead of like, of course, it is a practice, but you don't want to look kind of bad in them, right? See you next time.